Well, I guess we're back to this again, so, buckle up. Hi, my name is Sydney, welcome back to my channel. Now, I really wanted to talk about the Gillette ad in this video, but something popped up on my Twitter feed last night that really triggered me and kind of made me want to cover it first. I go where the triggering goes. So for context, this month another young woman was murdered in my city, Melbourne. And as per usual, the expected response happened from the feminists, in that they held vigils, they wrote angry articles, and they went on national television and said that all men are horrible, horrible people. Never mind all the good men that do good things on a regular basis. You're all evil. Yeah, feminism just loves equality. Basically, this is the same thing that I covered like 6 months ago. Feminism in this country is basically turning me into a broken record. But I really do want to talk about this, and not simply to reiterate things that I've already said, but more to point out how this feminist narrative is completely moronic. So let's commence. Don't tell women not to stay out too late at night. Tell men to stop raping and murdering. Can we just acknowledge for like a hot second that nobody's ever told women that they shouldn't stay out too late at night? Like, what even is that? This isn't some weird episode of The Handmaid's Tale. Can we just for a second? And as for the latter part of this post, men need to stop raping and murdering, well, that's idiotic for reasons I will get to shortly. In the meantime, let's watch the video.
Aija Masarwi,
Eurydice Dixon,
Jill Ma,
Stephanie Scott,
Anita Cobby. Just some better known names we unfortunately know all too well.
the latest tragedy, the rape and murder of young Palestinian student Aija.
Yeah, just as like a side note, I'm almost entirely sure that that young woman who was murdered recently is Israeli, not Palestinian.
21-year-old Aija was ambushed late on Tuesday night shortly after getting off the 86 tram.
She was FaceTiming her sister when suddenly
everything went black.
Her sister could hear her screams.
She was on her way home, living her life as she ought to,
before a man ended it in the most violent way.
Nothing like this should ever happen. She should have been able to go home to her family.
to tell women to alter their behaviour
So that they don't put themselves in these situations.
is a joke.
You know what's a joke, feminism? A joke is telling women that they are autonomous people, but they shouldn't be responsible for their own safety. You know what's a joke? Telling women not to be cognizant of what's going on around them because it's unfortunate that they have to be responsible for their own safety. You know what's a joke? Putting the onus and responsibility of your safety into the hands of other people, expecting other people to do the right thing. That is a joke, my friends.
Don't tell us that.
Tell men to stop raping and murdering.
What if that had been your sister?
Your daughter.
Your wife.
Your mother.
Right now, there is a happy woman out there living her life.
She doesn't know it yet, but she will be the next woman to suffer this fate.
How many more women have to die in this horrific way?
Aija's sister posted this photo.
These are the shoes she was wearing before her life came to an end.
Everyone has a right to get home safely.
Everyone.
Let's get the main things out of the way. First and foremost, rape, murder, violence, assault, wrong. It doesn't matter who is perpetrating it. In my opinion, it is 100% not okay in society. Secondly, yes, I agree with the sentiment that everyone does have the right to get home safely, men and women, although that is not really the reality of the society that we live in. And last but not least, all the things that have happened to the women in this video are completely deplorable, and this is a part of society that I have such hostility towards because this behavior is completely disgusting and unnecessary. Also, side note, this is why people like me are hugely supportive of the initiative to change our legislation to allow Australians to carry non-lethal weapons for self-defense purposes, which we can't currently do. Thanks, Parliament. Unfortunately, the truth of the matter is, no matter which gender you are, but I guess we're talking about women, so women, yes, you do have to change your behavior when you're out in public. And no, it's not because all men are rapists and horrible, violent people, but it is because there are people out there who are bad and dangerous. Is it unfair that we live in a time where people aren't able to behave as they want to out in public out of fear or concern for their safety? Sure. Does that mean you can make angry advertisements telling men that they're all horrible rapists and murderers? No. But for the time being, this is the way that it is. As much as we don't want it to be and we wish things were different, this is the way the society is running. This weird feminist utopia is not going to happen, and if it does, it certainly isn't going to happen overnight. Honestly, Sydney, you're such a defeatist idiot. If we keep telling men not to rape over and over and they keep doing it, well, in the end, we can just sterilize them. Sterilize? Don't you mean castrate? What's castrate? So, as long as this is the case, and as unfortunate as it is, women cannot put the responsibility of their safety into the hands of others. They have to take their autonomy and their own safety by the horns and make choices that don't put themselves in a position where they might run into difficulties or issues or harm. You guys know I hate the gender card, but I am saying this as a woman. There is no way in the 7 depths of hell that I would ever walk home by myself late at night in the AM. I just wouldn't do it. Even in daylight, in areas that don't have a lot of people around, I would be on alert and very aware of who could possibly be around me. It's because I'm not stupid enough to think that people out there are suddenly going to change their behavior simply because a bunch of online publications put out a slogan saying, "Hey bad people, stop being bad." Now let's address the second part of this message. Yeah, the part about men not raping and murdering. Yeah, that part. For starters, rape is a nuanced and complex issue, so to simplify it down to saying, "Hey men, just stop doing it," is about as useful as saying, well, I guess we could eradicate AIDS if everyone just stopped having sex. Yeah, we could stop rape from happening if people just stopped raping, like we could eradicate AIDS if people just all turned celibate, but it's idiotically oversimplified, and it's never going to happen. My primary and ongoing issue with this narrative and with this topic is that people just seem to love painting men into a box. And you just never seem to hear people saying things like, "Hey, let's look after each other out in public. Let's have harsher penalties for criminals. Let's reform our parole and bail system. Hey, let's take responsibility for our own autonomy." Or even, "Hey, let's actually work on getting people with mental health issues the care that they need." No, instead, they immediately jump onto the bandwagon of attacking and vilifying the male population. 'Cause that is so helpful. As if simply by saying, "Hey men, don't rape and murder," all the bad people on this planet are suddenly going to change their behavior overnight. Not helpful. People have been studying the epidemiology of rape for literally decades. Also, if you don't know what epidemiology is, it's like people who study the distribution and incidence and the way that diseases work. I'm just gonna get a dictionary definition because it's kind of complicated. So let's see what the dictionary has to say, okay? So the dictionary says that epidemiology is a branch of medicine which deals with incidence, distribution, and possible control of diseases and other factors relating to health. So it's just a bunch of nerds, really. So yes, people have literally been studying this for decades, and rape is already culturally taboo in Western societies, as any anthropologist would tell you. Fun fact, people already know that rape is wrong, and it's had absolutely no effect on the problem. So reiterating over and over, "Don't rape people," is superfluous stupidity. On top of that, by saying men specifically don't rape people, assumes that all men are collectively responsible and therefore collectively guilty of the actions of a few. So that ideology might fly in places like North Korea, where blood guilt is an actual embedded part of the legal system. But here in Western cultures, we deal with English common law, which is the basis for our legal system, which puts guilt at the level of the individual. No collective blaming here, fam. Responsibility also exists at the individual level. So, what does this tell us? Statements to the effect of men need to stop raping and murdering demonstrate a very low resolution view and oversimplified perspective of a very complex issue. It also shows a complete disregard for how guilt and responsibility operate in the Western world. And lastly, it shows the absolute disregard for literally decades of epidemiological research into this topic. Mind you, this research has come up with a lot of evidence-based solutions to this exact problem, such as more public lighting, more public policing, people reporting suspicious behavior, actually being allowed to carry non-lethal weapons for protection purposes, such as pepper spray or rape alarms. Yeah, those things. Because those things work, rather than these broad, collectivist, hateful slogans that do absolutely nothing. Yeah, feminism really cares about my personal safety. So what does that tell you? Well, it mostly says that you as the individual should put the onus of your personal safety into the hands of other people. I am convinced that feminists would rather feel morally superior than actually be effective in their effort to end rape, which is pretty repugnant in and of itself. They don't care about effective policy, they care about their reactionary attack on men. Mind you, most of whom hate rape just as much as feminists. This turned into more of a rant than I was anticipating, so sorry about that, guys. My ending comment here is that I wish we lived in a society where people could be safe out in public, but the reality is that that is not the case. And I'm not saying this as a defeatist who thinks that we will never get there, although I'm not entirely sure that we will. I'm simply saying that as it stands, because this is the way that society is functioning, it means that your safety is in your own hands, and it's important that you recognize that and take the necessary steps to ensure nothing bad happens to you. So what do you guys think about all of this? Who has it right and who has it wrong? As always, if you like the video, hit subscribe and the thumbs up button, because apparently that's a thing. If you want to leave a comment, feel free to do so, just don't be rude about it, and I will see you guys next time.